Hello and welcome to the Canadian Contenders League's playoffs. This is the semifinals game, and we're so excited to be bringing this to you. I'm Yali, and I'm going to be joined by Cairo.
Hello, how's it going, everybody? I'm excited for this one, Yali. I can't wait to get into some playoff action.
Oh, yeah, absolutely. And honestly, some really solid teams that we have here today. This is going to be Arial Rise versus Shift North, both teams with really incredible rosters. And, well, before we mention the rosters, let's have a look at well, there's our rosters actually. So there you go. But yeah, let's have a look at this. Senpai, Maple, Zers, just some really iconic players that we've seen throughout this whole season. And Ariel Arise, I'm sure you're all familiar. I mean, Ashen of all people, Milano, Luis, Kento, these are really just names that if you haven't heard of them, have you been following T3 Siege, Cairo?
Yeah, I've dabbled a little. I know Ariel Arise better than Shift North. I'm going to be honest, but that's just because the Ariel Arise. We've seen them play in CL. I mean, they've got a few players that have been kicking about in the scene for a long time. So yeah, as you say, it's Ariel Arise. You look at that roster and you know exactly who we're talking about.
Oh, yeah. I absolutely have to agree with that. I mean, Ashen has made absolute waves, and while he is not, is he 18 yet? I don't quite remember. But I remember there were quite a few members of the Aerial Rise Academy roster that weren't 18 and were just absolutely destroying everyone who wanted to stand in their way. So, really excited to see how these two teams play up against each other here.
Yeah, that's it. And I mean, well, in terms of how they've been playing, in terms of how they played in the groups, I mean, Ariel Arise, their only loss was to the Neuters, which is the team with, well, we all know who's on that team. Some really good players on that roster. They were playing for fun, and that's with their if that's the only two maps you drop against, probably one of the best teams kicking about. Then yeah, I wouldn't be complaining with that. And well, they're in the semi-finals anyway. They just had one more extra game rather than going straight into the semis here.
Yeah. Speaking of a game that we have a game it's going to be played in a place, and we have map bands to show you so we can determine what that place is going to be. So, starting things off, it is going to be Shift North with the first ban, and that's Border Off the Board. Very classic ban. I don't think it's been played yet this season, but I think moving into the finals, some of these less played maps are going to start peeking their heads.
Certainly, I actually do remember a game on Border, but I think Border kind of replaced Coastline with that box like map, so I can understand where that's gone. Bank Oregon off the board, interesting. Bank's getting quite more popular. Oregon is a staple, so Shift North maybe trying to upset their opponents here. Theme Park gone as well.
Yeah, I think Oregon is definitely a good band when you know you're playing against some players with really high levels of discipline, mechanical skill, and overall fundamentals. But bringing them to Clubhouse is another map that might display how these fundamentals come up against each other.
Yeah, without a doubt, it's pretty much standard stuff. Villa, another one of those ones that we expect to see in best of threes. Always rears its head. Well, I was going to say ugly head. I kind of like the scenery. Maybe beautiful
True.
head. So expected to see that. It's going to be an interesting one. I imagine it'll be a CAF ban because CAF can be really structured. It can be really hard, really punishing. And I don't think you'd want that decider on a best of three on Cafe.
Yeah, that would definitely be kind of a difficult situation. I mean, you're playing a best of three. You've already played two maps. You move on to your third, and yeah, there it is right off the board right there. So you don't want to be picking a map that's going to be really difficult to play, but Skyscraper is actually going to be our decider. Ooh, that is a map I am really excited for should we get there. I love Skyscraper so much. I think it's got so much potential for just really creative play. And so really hoping that we get to go there.
I love Skyscraper. I love the fact it's finally in the pool that teams can play in. And I think, honestly, It's going to be like Chalet, the way that it develops over the coming months, the coming splits, when we see teams come out with crazy strats, etc. When teams start to get really more comfortable on it, that's when we'll start to see the meta set on the map. Right now, I don't think anybody has an idea. I'm not saying they don't have an idea. They obviously know how to play Siege to high standard, but I don't think they have a real good idea of what is the winning formula yet. So it'll be an interesting one to see how these teams put their own style on it if we do get to that map.
Yeah, all right. Well, we are just about ready to be getting in here. We have readies from many of the players on the map. So we're going to be going right in. Clubhouse, going to be starting us off. Now, this is Shift North's choice. And well, I'm excited to see what they have in store for us. I mean, there are many different ways to attack Clubhouse. Obviously, we talk about CC, we talk about bar actually quite a bit because frankly speaking the operator bans can be hugely influential in which team is going to have an advantage. Speaking of operator bans, here we are. Arial Arise starting us off with their defending team and removing Thatcher from the board. No impede grenades during this map in the very least.
Yeah, Thatcher staple, kind of what we expect. Clubhouse are very breach heavy. Jacuzzi, CC wall, even all those hatches. Potentially could see Queen of the Hatches gone though. Habanas, that's going to be next. Yes, it is. Trying to make that bottom floor site that a little bit more defensible. But remember, Maverick still is on the board, so can counteract a Cade. A Cade would be considered a bad ban right now if it was to come through. But maybe teams want to make their lives easier. Will it be the case? No. Valkyrie off the board. Get rid of that info here, Yali.
Yeah, no, I really like removing Valkyrie. There's a lot of vertical destructibility on this map, as we know, especially when we start talking about Bar or Gem and Master Bedroom. So, realistically speaking, getting Valkyrie off the board, definitely nothing to shake a stick at, and Mira as well can be a very influential ban. However, I do like that you mentioned Maverick is going to stay on the board. Maverick with capability to open, I believe, 2 hatches, especially if you're talented, and as well, just kind of open the CC wall. Uh, no contest whatsoever. I mean, with Maverick on the board, the CC wall is going to get opened. So I generally don't like to see CC played with Maverick on the board, but many teams opt to do that anyway. However, not for the first round, as we are going to the basement instead.
Well, basement site is kind of where the ban stipulate might be one of the strongest sites, just for the sheer fact that obviously hatches might be a little bit more harder to open. Yes, you can get 2 open. Yes, you can't counteract a Maverick, but at the same time, it takes longer. Those floors are kind of, they can be either shot through, send a C4 up, blow that up, try and counteract a Maverick. It is quite hard to move. I'm trying to look here. Yes, it is the Maverick that we are going to see come out to play. Ace is there as well. Maybe a little bit of impact trick in here, as there is a Melusi with impact charges, but look at that. 3 C4s here, Yali. That's going to be the most important part, I think, of this defense.
Yeah, and well, Milano could also be very influential. This is the Oryx player, and while he does not have, oh goodness, they're putting multiple spawn peaks on this, but putting all their eggs in one basket, unfortunately, is not going to pay off. None of the attackers spawned over there, so none of them will be found. However, TK will be found immediately, as well, Eddie is looking in on the other side of the map. That's going to be your ace off the board. Not a super influential operator during this round, I don't think, just given the fact that at most he's able to open 1 hatch, but that will severely limit their ability to make any sort of a church play.
Yeah, I think that's probably the biggest hindrance there is that church play, maybe even into Ash Rush, if it has been breached into, but I don't, sorry, if it has been reinforced, but I don't think there was a reinforcement wasted there. Lovely swing coming out from the Finker to even things up on towards the board, opens up the map control a little bit to get in towards Barris. Sometimes that is a really hard border to cross. Milano doing damage elsewhere, not quite sure where that was. It was a run out all the way on to Dut to shoot out the player that was standing there. That was the Zofia. So that's going to be a little bit of soft destruction loss, but all in all, I don't really know if they'll be counting the utility there. We'll need to see. Milano's still upstairs and causing a problem.
Yeah, no, this is terrifying for the attackers. You know, you've got Norix on the top floor, one of the most mobile operators in this whole game, and well, he's gonna try and get behind the attackers, but he's gonna start sprinting with his gun down, get it up in time, and find another pick on the round. That's gonna be Zerus off the board, and while Maverick is still here, He's really going to have to find this pick or else, oh goodness, he's not going to find it. That's Maverick off the board too. Suddenly this whole attack has been dismantled. There is no hard breach on the board. And while he does find another, it's going to be very difficult for him to make his way through this crossfire, losing his life there and, well, losing the round as well. First round goes towards Arial's Arise.
Well, the thing is, though, the good thing that happened was that the Roam caused so many problems here for Shift North. They didn't bother to counteract it, they didn't bother to try and Roam clear, and that left, well, as we already seen, the Oryx to go absolutely crazy. I think the way that the bans have ended up, Arial Arise, we're always going to have to put some presence somewhere on that kind of middle floor. Or, I don't know, I think was it base. I don't know. Right, I'm not going to start. I'm not going to even get into Americanisms right now. But the point I was going to make is the fact that there had to be a presence on that kind of middle floor where people would be trying to place breaches, trying to do their utility work, just trying to make them uncomfortable, and else they would have a fairly good time with that ace, with that Maverick. So, with that being the case, we are going to go to CCTV, which could be considered a less, I guess, a less strong site considering the Maverick is online. Will take a little bit longer to get the stuff done here. But the good thing is there is actually a switch up. Well, I think we might have a disconnect on Ashen as they're doing that moonwalk. But I think the fact that we are going to see that Cade kind of move the claws onto the walls on Garage was such a good idea. And look at this, Eddie striking onto Devil to actually equal out the man count here.
Yeah, I was about to mention the aggression from Arial Rise has been very potent and, well, effective in this case, as we already have an even man count despite a disconnect. Now, that was definitely kind of a risky play because if a player takes damage, you're not going to be able to call a rehost. Looks like they're deciding not to call a rehost anyway. Decided to just play it out. So it is what it is, but Xerus is well going to end up putting the man advantage back into the attacker's favor. Now, the aggression play by the attacker or by the defenders is going to be very important, and they're proving that they have the ability to do that. Ferda already going to find another, evening it back up, and well, without this aggression, the attacks are just going to be allowed to do what they want. While Maverick is off the board, they do still have an ace, and making their way around for more of a construction-oriented push could be an ideal scenario here, and looks like one that they are more than likely going for at this point. Yeah, no pressure back over on that side either. Not sure if they're aware of that already, but I'm sure the rotate will come out from Arial Arise momentarily as soon as they start realizing that this is being drowned.
100%. And they've got, the thing is though, for Shift North, a minute 40 left here on the board. There is 2 nades, so the nades will need to hit any denial that's on the construction wall. That's probably the biggest part. The good thing is, Sledge has already done the work. All they need to do is get the ace there, get the charges on the wall, which there is 2 of, and those two cannot be lost. I mean, there's 1 impact, 1 C4 that could do that work. 3 smoke toxic canisters here that could deny for 10 seconds at a time. The problem for the defenders is there is still at least 40 seconds till we get to that point where smoke is at its most viable.
Yeah, well, impact tricking here, very effective against Ace. And, well, he's going to find a pick anyway. That is going to be your impact tricker off the board. So, oh, no, that was back in the other direction. That's on me. Xerus has actually found his head off of his body. And so now we have a defender-sided advantage. One of the smokes is going to go out, so that's going to be a little bit less time wasted down the road. But, I mean, honestly, just trying to prevent any sort of... Oh, goodness, everything is coming out right now. And we're already down into a 1v1. Maples trying to find the last kill, but Ferda is going to find it as well. An explosion of activity right at the end of that round.
I think the fact that the Finker was lost there at the end, that was 2 nades gone. I don't know if they were just expended before that. Well, a flurry happened, and I think the Finker, honestly, when you're looking at it, could have displaced a few players, made them run away while gunfights were being taken. Unfortunately, not the case, as we saw. Well, when the gunfights came down to Arial Arise, had 3 crossfires, and all they needed to do was trade it out all the way to the end, and that's what they did. So well played. The aggression, though, is consistently working out for them here. It is going to be potentially a complete rotation for them of their sites as we head towards bedroom. A really hard site to sometimes attack into. It can be really awkward if the cohesion isn't there from Shift North, and so far, I mean, Yali, I would argue that the cohesion hasn't been there so far.
Yeah, honestly, just not really finding a lot of the trades. That last round was a little bit better in terms of that than the first round. I mean, we saw it go down to a 1v1, which is much better than the first round was all the way down to a 4v1, but generally a lot of the attackers have just been finding themselves all over the map, and that's not necessarily what you need when you're attacking a team as aggressive as this. Discipline and your ability to pick out what the defenders are going to be doing and make sure that your trades are coming through is going to be a very potent strategy as an attacker. Obviously, there is another option. If you feel comfortable, you can sort of play a little bit of the psychological game. If you start making aggressive plays, there's a good chance that Arial Rise is going to be aggressive right back at you, and you can kind of predict those a little bit. You get a little bit more control over the pacing of the round, but whether or not Shift North is going to be able to do that, and like you mentioned, not super together at this point, yeah, that is going to be a difficult battle for them. Oh goodness, this nade though is going to find a kill. That's going to be Eddie off the board and the first opening pick in the favor of Shift North.
Certainly is. That's a good pick there. The castle gone. That means that any kind of rotates on the fly, which doesn't happen often, but could still happen, as gone. That's going to be castle relegated to those cams. One less player to watch an angle, which is sometimes when we look towards bedroom and gym, it can be a kind of house of cards. Once the first pick goes, the rest follow suit. Trying to see if the aggression is going to come from either of those teams. The fact that the castle barricades are still up leaves so much. What a shot that is from CZ. Getting that first, well, that trade through on towards the thermite, but the damage has already been done. Nades are flying left, right, and centre at the moment. And it seems to be a minefield for the players up on that site. 1 minute 20 left. We're waiting for the execution to come through. 4 versus 4. And, well, I mean, as I say that, we do get that advantage being brought into the defenders' hands.
It's easy bringing a very potent gun here, but it's going to get taken off the board just as I say that. TK finding him through the gym window, and now suddenly we have attackers all over the board. Ashen has actually made his way back to the site, previously aggressing the CC window. I guess decided not really worth it. I do really like the fact that they still have a player downstairs. If he's aware of his vertical positioning, he could do a very good job of cutting off the rotates of the defenders as an execute goes out, but not if the attackers don't have any bodies left. Ferda gonna find Maples, and this could be another elimination-based round. While there are 3 players left on the side of Arial Rise, they do still need to coordinate themselves. If they find themselves isolated, it's going to be a problem, just like that. But a good swing coming out from Frost is going to finish out the round. Another round in favor of Arial Rise. I have to tell you, this is looking very dominant so far.
Yeah, we were talking about fundamentals. We were talking about this is where we see the best fundamentals in Siege come out. It's a Clubhouse, an absolute staple, one of the longest running comp maps in terms of popularity. And well, we look at this, and there's only one team who can't really deal with the fundamentals. Shift North, they're not dealing with the aggression. It's probably one of the biggest fundamentals because, I mean, let's be honest, we've all played rank. We know what spawn peaks, we know what the aggression can be like sometimes. Sometimes a lot of deep size and Shift North, well, they've got enough size to probably fuel a windmill for about a day. I really don't like saying that. Shift North, though, have now seen every single site of Arial Arise. This is now where we're going to start seeing the adaptations. This is where we're going to start seeing Shift North maybe have an upper hand when coming against Arial Arise, because if you're Arial Arise, you're thinking to yourself, if it ain't broke, don't fix it.
I will say this is definitely a meta that is defined by flexibility, though. With attacker repick in the game, we have taken a lot of the flexibility out of the hands of the defenders and given it to the attackers. So now, well, the hope is that you don't find anyone getting spawn peaked as the ace did in the first round. That being said, doesn't look like it's going to happen, at least not yet, as the defenders are finding themselves all spread out over the main floor. I keep wanting to call them the attackers because they're just playing so aggressively, but honestly, this might just be what this meta calls for. You have to take some of the flexibility out of the hands of the defenders. And oh goodness, that's going to be a missed drone on Ashen, but it looks like Maple's drone is going to find him and said, no, this could be huge. Ah, yes, he is going to get spotted out there and start making his way back. Unsure how aggressive he's going to like to be, but in any case, he has wasted a little bit of time just by placing himself there and making a good fallback. Very difficult firefight for him, though, but he's going to make it through anyway. And wow, really sticking around to apply some pressure, though. He does do a little bit of damage, but that aggressive play, more than the damage, wasted a whole minute of time. At this point, you'd really like to be starting to get those hatches opened with your slow Maverick and start building some vertical pressure to maneuver the defenders around. But that just hasn't been able to happen yet due to the aggression coming out from Ariel Arise. And two players still on the top floor, although Ashen is going to lose his life to Xerxes. That was through some vertical. Wait, no, there's been an aggressive play out of sight. The plan is going down. Devil is already almost got it down, and Xerxes is covering it. The plan is down. How did this happen? Did they come through dirt? But CZ is there, ready to start aggressing. Beautiful shots coming out from CZ, and now we find ourselves in a 2v2, but Ferda and Maples all the way off the site. Senpai really has to find this, and there has to be some vert onto this diffuser, or else it could come out. Ferda gonna find Maples, though. Now there's only one player left, and he's down, and that's gonna be another round in favor of Arial Arise.
So unfortunate. Shift North been able to sneak onto the site. They were 5 seconds away from winning that one out there, Yali. They'd played so well in terms of just the lane. We also had the player up above trying to get vertical through using ace charges. Good ingenuity, but it didn't pay off in the end there for Shift North. Ariel Arise just so much better when it came to those gunfights, 4-0. And as we head to CCTV and Cash, remember Ariel Arise were able to win this one out from an inherent disadvantage from the start, as they had one less player disconnect. That is going to be unfortunate here as we do head in towards CCTV and Cash. If I'm Shift North, I'd be feeling the pain from that last round.
That was a difficult situation to deal with, and it was so close to having the ace in that position. That was an ideal position, and honestly, very good use of utility, as you pointed out. But CZ, just such a potent player, finding that double kill downstairs in the mute as well on the top floor, that really kind of cleaned up that round. And between those two players, the SAS brothers, if you will, that round looked so promising and just got snatched out of their hands. Absolutely incredible mechanical skill and mechanical showing from Ariel Arise. And, well, they've kind of shown at this point they have the right to the aggression that they're showing.
Well, with the aggression coming through, this main breach is going to be something that we don't usually see. And, well, nearly one player getting caught off guard by that Tiki. Look at the amount of health that they lost, but lovely stuff there from NLMB Senpai. And Tiki also rips through that main breach, getting another. There goes CZ, there goes your smoke. And this is looking so much better. Well, realistically, Shift North only need 2 rounds, that's half. And we look at this one is looking the most viable here, Yali.
He's very viable already. I mean, 5v2, and honestly, this is the kind of aggression that we needed to see. This sort of counter aggression that forced Ariel Rise out of their comfort zone, and honestly, kind of a silly play on that spawn peek on the main window. Yeah, and good positioning still coming out from Ariel Rise as they continue to make this push. Replay C4, though, is going to do the planter in, but a player downstairs who has eyes on that player who's attempting to deny the plant is going to finish out the round. We finally have a Shift North round.
Finally is the key word there. Finally, we see Shift North do the business. And that's the problem, though, because Shift North, they did the business, but it was through punishing Ariel Arise's over aggression. I mean, let's be honest. Peeking out through main breach is never advised, because you're just basically giving out, well, 3 lines of sight in towards your site. I mean, the wall leads directly onto site. Ariel Arise. I think that I'm going to say that was a bit of a troll. End of the day, though, the 2 picks came from there, and then it was just steamroll after steamroll, and then we are now on towards this next round. It's a big round here for Shift North and Ariel Arise, both in tow, because if you think about it, whoever wins this round will set the precedence for the next half. 4-2 split is a really good half for Shift North, considering everything that's happened. It's almost standardised on Clubhouse from what we expect here. There is 2 strong sites that we would expect defenders to win out twice on each, which would be 4. If Ariel Rise can win this next one, they have a big advantage coming through and towards this next half, as they'll only need to win 2 tertiary sites on their attack, and that's where we expect attackers to win.
Starting out the round, looks like we're going to be seeing a pretty traditional east side over push. They want to clear out CC, make sure no one's aggressing that window in the very least, and then start going towards the jacuzzi wall. If they can apply enough split pressure, that will separate Aerial Rise, hopefully enough that they can get behind them, so to speak. Make them a little bit flat-footed and give yourself a little bit more of an advantage on your firefights when you're taking them, because if they have to watch multiple directions, well, they only have two eyes, and as far as I know, most of them work together. So
Oh,
wow.
that was a lovely play, Yali. That was so nice. The shotgun was just waiting for someone to try and spray and deny the re-rotate back in towards sight. That was beautiful play from Edula Rise there. The aggression we can see isn't just a silly like swing, try and get the kills. There's a nade drop by Milano after getting that kill, and there's a double kill for Milano. Absolute genius play. That's a triple. One more to finish out the round. Flawless from Arial Rise, and we see it come out from that Frost play. Lovely stuff. Arial Rise, they take a huge advantage into this next half.
This absolute aggression is just not being countered by Shift North, and beautifully played by Aerial Rise, by the Frost player there. I mean, what else could you ask for? Was that 4 kills on a single clip? Just incredible. I mean, and here's really kind of what I'm trying to get at here is Aerial Rise's mechanical skill right now is just going hard. Shift North is going to struggle with this defensive half. There is a Maverick on the board. I mean, in my opinion, invalidating CC, but Aerial Rise proved me wrong. And honestly, that one round that Shift North won, was that Shift North's round to win? I
Yeah,
mean, Ariel Arise kind of tossed that a little bit, in my opinion. I
yeah.
think it is good that they are continuing with this aggression because obviously the aggression is working. Shift North seems unprepared to deal with it, and maybe not necessarily unprepared, but unable. I don't know if there's a coordination issue, maybe there's a communication issue, but ultimately, really what we're looking for here is just an ability to counteract that pressure with pressure of their own.
Well, it seems if Zuz is trying to get aggressive, taking up the Aerial Rise sort of play style, but already we're seeing the play style of Aerial Rise come through on the attack as well. Having to use a Toxic Babe 20 seconds into a round to delay a rush push. But look at this, the pressures went elsewhere on the map. It's not just all funneled in towards Dot. This is huge play. The thing is, though, I don't know if they know there's only one player just outside of Dot. Senpai having to rotate after getting that first kill. But look at this, there seems to be a down somewhere. I'm not quite sure if that was through the floorboards of Kitchen, and it seems if another one's coming through, it's just going to be a rush through, but it's not working out. Senpai hits back. That's a triple for them, and there's now 2 players left with 3 nades left each. There is those one my disc. Lovely play with a nade and a kill. Senpai gets a quad. Can't get the ace. Ariel Arise. They move on towards map point.
What an aggressive round. And honestly, is that the theme of this whole round? I mean, it's just so aggressive, or sorry, of this whole map. This is so aggressive, and Shift North, while they were looking very promising there, they were able to apply this counter aggression that they needed. They were able to get their players into good positions in order to catch some of the Aerial Rise members off guard. But it's just not working out for them. Ariel Arise seems to be more confident with their ability to play together in these tight situations, putting 2 people in dirt so you can make that double swing, having the player in kitchen already making that vertical that was able to deny the fallback from the player in armory, and just so aggressive and taking these key positions, knowing exactly what they want. Ariel Arise, it's not just mechanical skill. They know what they're doing here, and they are displaying that on a very high level.
They are. I mean, the measured aggression that we are seeing here from Aerial Arise. I mean, there was 2 players in dot, so we've got the refrag ability there. The first frag already goes into Aerial Arise, so they get that foot up. But on top of that, well, there's the distraction of everything happening in dot. Players potentially, I think there was maybe a little bit of presence towards blue, or maybe in towards the corridor. That allowed the thermite to get in, open up kitchen hatch, which created so much of a vacuum that players didn't know what to happen. I mean, it seems if the Vigil was able to capitalize on that, but I think again here, the way that Aerializer just playing together. It really is a beautiful thing. It's beautiful siege, and in towards bedroom and gym, we are seeing a Monty being brought. I think that's to put pressure to see if there's any sort of, I think, players on towards rafters potentially. I'm not too sure. But it seems as if I don't really like them. I'm going to be honest, I don't like the Monty play. We'll see how it works out though.
Yeah, it's definitely interesting. I will say construction can kind of turn into no man's land, and having an operator that you can just kind of bully a construction player out of could be very potent. Fact, that might be something that I look for in the future, but so far it hasn't paid off. TK and Senpai finding the first 2 picks of the round, and while Monty is still aggressing, he doesn't really have any backup here. Devil goes down, but the backup is still nowhere to be found as Alibi begins to try and make some aggressive plays. Not quite going to work out in their favor as all 3 members of Arial Rise are over here, and she does not have any friends at all. Now we're down to a 3v3 with construction being the next obstacle in the way. Oh my goodness. Maybe not construction, maybe the player in gym, but no longer. Their head has been removed, and it's up to Zerse and Maple to build this crossfire. This is so important, but with Maple dead and Zerse off the board, that is going to be map 1 to Arial Arise 7-1.
7-1 indeed. And I mean, the scoreline, I'm going to be honest, is a compliment to Shift North. And the only reason why that is a compliment is it should have been a 7-0. That one round was thrown by Ariel Arise, pure aggression. Shift North did not know how to deal with it. There was a few, I think there was only one round, and it was CCTV where things became really, really close. But all in all, here, Yelly, all we have seen is an Ariel Arise map and does not bode well as we move on towards Villa for our second one.
Yeah, that is just absolutely brutal. 7-1 is, I mean, you've made it this far in CCL. This is not a league that you want to shake a stick at. I can tell you that right now. There's some really brutal competitors in this league that didn't even make the playoffs. And so making it this far is definitely a huge compliment to you. But Ariel Arise seems to just be absolutely dominant in this matchup. Honestly, just beautiful siege, beautiful coordination, and beautiful mechanical skill. In any cases, that does finish map 1. We're going to take a very short break, and we will be right back with you for map 2, which is going to be Villa. So really excited for that. Traditionally, defender side of map. Curious to see how attack and repick switches things up. Hello and welcome back after that brief intermission. Didn't need to take too much time after all. That whole map didn't take very much time at all. 7-1 in favor of Ariel Arise, and what a dominant showing it was.
It really was dominant from start to finish, apart from one round where the aggression maybe got a little bit too aggressive. But apart from that, we did see a really dominant display. We did see Shift not being able to reset. They couldn't find the crossfires, they couldn't find the trades, and unfortunately, just like that, Ariel Arise were just popping off left, right, and centre a lot of individualistic plays. And when that happens, that's where you need to sit back as a team and say what actually is going wrong up. But I'm going to ask you a question here, Yali. Was it just an aerialized clubhouse, or do we see maybe Shift North come back into it on Villa?
I have to say, after something like that, I really think that was an Ariel. This is just Ariel Arise's game. I have to make that
Yeah,
prediction. I mean, that was Shift North's pick, you know?
yeah,
And at that point, it's like, yeah, that was just brutal. And we're moving on to Ariel Arise's pick, which is Villa,
yeah.
a map that arguably has even more potential for aggression. But in any case, we're going to see that very soon, already moving down into the map preview, and we'll be getting to the operator bans in just a moment. Excited to see what we're in store for on this map.
I am excited to see. From the ban phase, honestly, I think we might see a different attacker ban, potentially see a Nomad rather than a Habana, but I think all in all, we might still see the same sort of bans come through in the form of Thatcher, just on cue. On the form, I think Nomad will be this one. I think it'll be a Valkyrie and then a Mira, because all in all, if I'm Shift North, I do not want to give Ariel a rise anything, absolutely anything, when they get to go into the defensive phase.
Yeah, no, Aerial Arise. I mean, banning a Nomad would be very potent, but it looks like they decided banning a Finka would be just as potent as well. I think they just don't think they really need to get rid of the Nomad. I don't know if they're not relying on these flank plays, if they think they can make very aggressive head on plays instead. Or maybe they're not even planning on playing aggressive this time. Maybe they're just gonna sit back and ride this wave of discipline and just say, "No, let's just make sure we win as best we can." I don't know. I'm not Aerial Arise.
I think the thing is, though, I think it's such an important ban in the current meta. She's such a staple in terms of every attacker lineup, especially with this attacker repick coming through. Those defender bans have stayed the same since Clubhouse. I mean, you think about it, you ban Finker right now, that's two nades, a Gone 6, the ability to universally and globally heal players from low HP upwards, and on top of that, the ability to globally res people without actually losing a gun to that res. Absolutely huge abilities all in all, and a great ban, because some in this LMG meta we're seeing a lot of crutches, and it's one crutch that could potentially be gone for either team.
Yeah, I will say that I think Nomad also can be a very potent crush on this map. It's very easy to section off the map control, but at this point, Aerial Ice has opted not to bring Nomad, and I don't really blame them. They have a Twitch on the board. I mean, they also have Sofu. Not sure if they are bringing flat place charges or a Claymore, but it seems like more and more flank watches trying to get sort of nerfed by Ubisoft. I mean, we've all seen the patch notes, and just trying to give them a little more options. So getting a couple extra drones on the board, getting some claymores behind you might be all you need, especially when you're playing a team like Shift North, who up to this point hasn't shown the aggression necessary to really warrant a very dedicated flank watch operator.
Well, we are going to see this chokehold here on Red Landing and Wolf Window kind of being a key point for these defenders to hold down if we do see Ariel Arise push through from Master, but not to be the case. That is a sledge shotgun? An interesting choice of weaponry here coming through from Ariel Arise. Will it work out as they push up main? Yes, it will. What has happened here? It's a double kill for
Oh
Eddie. That is
my God.
pure BM, and it's working out, which is the worst thing about it. There's going to be another kill coming through. That is Ferda helping out here. There's only two remaining defenders. Make that one, and the last one is Sirs downstairs.
Goodness gracious. I mean, Sledge Shotgun meta. I mean, that was so effective. I've never seen a main stairs take that effective before. And one more kill just to prove his point. Yeah, that is clearly an effective weapon. I mean, goodness gracious, just what an aggressive take for Ariel Arise defining this map. This is not going to be their time to sit back and find their discipline. This is going to be their time to say, let's see how fast we can make our discipline work. And I have a feeling it's just gonna keep working, keep running. It's not a huge map. I mean,
Yeah.
technically it's a big map, but there's this knot in the middle of the map that kind of cuts it in half. So it's just, yeah. I mean, Aerial Arise clearly. Yeah, they had a plan and they executed it, and it was
Yeah.
very fast, and no one was ready for it.
I think the thing is, though, is it was used in the right circumstances. If you look at it from this perspective, yes, we'll say that's a troll. But at the same point, I mean, think about that shotgun. It's close range. It was swinging corners. It was taking in close quarter gunfights and winning out. But then the LMG took the kind of forward foot in that scenario, started getting picks elsewhere, and then the last kill was again close quarters. So all in all, I mean, as much as we want to say why are they picking up, or we could be like, as Cass has been like, why are they picking up sledge shotgun? It worked, and if it ain't broke, don't fix it. Don't know if it'll be the same take this time, as we are seeing a Capitao being brought out from Eddie rather than that sledge. I wonder if they're going to try and approach it from a different form of the map. Zuz all the way downstairs, and there is a buck walking up to them.
Now, I do have to expect that this sort of play is going to be very different. They have brought two sets of hard breach charges when they could have brought something else, and Xerxes is bringing the battle right to Buck. But Buck, I think, is completely unaware of Xerxes' position. He's just ran up the stairs, and no, looks like they know someone's in the basement as the red stairs is being watched. And TK is going to open that up, though, with a very clean counter to a drop shot there. I mean, honestly, it's what is this? 2019? I mean, come on. Come on.
Oh, nice, nice, nice. That's a good way to shut down your Roma. Just wait on that red stairs, get that pick. A minute left here, and we're equaling. I was about to say equaling out the man count, not to be, as there is Senpai picking up Ashen. There was the Zofia to follow up though for the refrag. Smoke is unaware, but wins it out finally with the last flick. I don't know if there was some sort of audio cue, but just checked it at the right moment. 2 versus 4 here. Shift North finally have a lifeline in this round.
TK has found another pick, and that leaves CZ alone to try and clean this up. He does have the diffuser in hand, but he's got the diffuser in hand and, well, 4 hands with guns in them to get his way through. And these are aggressive hands. Look at these swings. There's one, there's another, but that one's not going to pay off. Senpai going down to CZ's weapon. Now, he does only have the Type 89, but he also has the Bearing 9 in pocket, but that's not going to mean anything. A swing with the classic Mossberg is going to end his life.
Well, we did see the punishment coming through finally from Shift North. That's good stuff. Smoke being able to hold down main stairs, which is probably the biggest guard that we could talk about there of that site. One each now, and we go towards Trophy and Statuary Room. A very good site in its own regard. I mean, some teams would argue that this is probably the primary site of the map, considering how AVG has fell away. I will be interested to see how Arial Arise approach this, if anything. As I mean, we look towards Shift North. I think the only deviation would potentially be that cap can. So Arial Arise, how they're approaching this, they come up with the craziest plays. They've got a knock into what's going to be happening here.
And not only a Nook, but they're still bringing Ying and Capitao. I mean, this is not a lineup that I can say I have ever seen. Well, Ying is going to go off for Iana. You can see there, but that, I mean, is really that going to speak very much to this play. I mean, if we start, oh, there's an opening pick for Ariel Arise as Senpai takes out TK. What an aptly named player.
I don't think you could get a better one with that. Well, it seems as if we are going to try and see a play being made to try and get someone to equal out the man count. Not going to happen. It'll arise. They're just going to go direct towards site. I mean, why would you not? You've got the pick already. Oh, impromptu pick. And with that being said, we are seeing a player trying to play in the bolo position and walk-in closet. Maplezinho, only to see how they play in this one.
He does have the Mossbergs. That can be very potent in these sort of close quarters combat situations, like we've seen with the aggression on the first round. However, it looks like he's going to be spotted out fairly quickly, and there's going to be a concerted effort to take this out. A Nitro goes out, but it's not going to be effective, and with a couple more flashes going through, I mean, he is in a tough situation. Capitao is really trying to get him out of there, and here comes some nades. Is he going to be able to survive this? Doesn't look like it. Milano is going to find that pick, and now we're 3-5 in favor of Ariel Arise. Make that 2-5 as Eddie finds another. Now it's up to Zers and Devil. Make that only Devil. These rounds are going faster than myself. It is hard to measure, I'll tell you that right now.
It really is hard to measure. Ariel Arise, well, measured aggression is the keyword that I would use there. They had the pick, they got able to move through, and it was just like a whitewash almost the way that they moved that through that site, taking out picks. Tiltree and Statue is going to be a re-attempted here. Shift North potentially looking to adapt to what Ariel Arise were doing. I don't know if that might be the right choice, but we'll see. We're apparently getting a fuse being brought out here. I don't know if they're thinking potentially it could be Kitchen. Wonder if that's the play here. But remember, attacker repick means that that fuse can easily be taken away from this lineup and back towards a more standardized lineup that we're used to seeing on this side.
Back on trophy, obviously more standardized lineup, and there's a fuse. Okay, maybe slightly less standardized lineup. However, I will say I was watching earlier. Parabellum brought Fuse with a ballistic shield against Oxygen and won that round. In fact, they won with Fuse ballistic shield twice. So I
All right, okay.
really can't complain at this point. I mean, Fuse I think could be very potent, especially when used on potentially the Astro window or window. I mean, as well if they decide to try and make this holding closet, but doesn't look like that's going to be the case. So maybe I think that's probably what their thinking was, but Fuse obviously can still be effective in those other two situations, like I mentioned.
I do remember watching. I think it was APAC. If I remember right, it was Cyclops that brought the two Russian operators of Glaz and Fuse together. With the we had the shield, and then obviously Glaz walking behind them, trying to work as the entry as they did years and years ago. Maybe potentially this could be a play. We'll need to see if that is going to be the spot. That is the LMG being brought for Fuse, not the ballistic shield this time. We'll need to see how this one works out. I think that's Cade opening up a C4 hold. Zuz and Maplezinho are roaming. Maplezinho on that kitchen floor, and Zuz all the way in towards basement. Seems if Ariel Arise are looking to potentially go straight in towards here, in towards the master bedroom area. Pressure is being contested here by Senpai on towards that concrete area. But all in all, they're going to drop off. Maybe not advised, as we do see a Flores coming through here. And it seems as if Ariel Arise might be a little bit stumped and pushing through here, but they have actually gained Master without being contested too much.
Now, I have to be curious about these downstairs plays. When the aggression comes out, obviously that's going to trigger the counter aggression from Shift North. And frankly, if there's just no pressure coming from downstairs, there is no point for Aerial Rise to even concern themselves with that. They can kind of just take this 5v3 that we see on site. Actually, when, I mean, let's have a look at this. There is exactly 0 nitro cells remaining on the board. This is going to be more than likely fairly easy round for Aerial Rise, but I say that right as Senpai takes out Eddie. We actually see ourselves in an advantage for Shift North as they take the opening pick. Wall is going to be open though, and that's going to be a fair amount of map control ceded to Aerial Rise.
Well, there is a minute left here, and this is probably the longest we've seen. Well, at least 9 players on the board, make it 8 now, as we do see further equal out that man count finally. Is this going to be a last dash? It doesn't seem to be the case, but a flurry of kills comes through. Shift North taking the advantage here, and Ceesay and Ashen going to have to make plays. Do have lots of utility to work through, but look at this. Ceesay just walked through in towards sight, and like this could make a play, misses the shots, and now leaves Ashen in a 1 versus 3. Nades come through, and it's all up to this ARX of the Ayana. 3 guns trained towards this position. Can they make it work with 30 seconds to go? Well, it does seem like a tough ask indeed moving through the site. Can't seem to find anything just yet, but it seems if the Jaeger is going to reposition, and it's Senpai to pick up that kill, tucked far in towards where that wardrobe is, and we'll get that pick. And it seems as if we are going to get a 2-2 score.
I really like what Shift North is doing right now. They have brought the same site twice in a row, both times, adjusting very well to what Aerial Arise did. I mean, finding these sort of counter aggressive plays that really are actually starting to challenge Aerial Arise. And also, they're timed well. They're sitting back, they're playing their disciplined positions when they can, they're not being overly aggressive when it's possible, and then exploding at the correct moment's notice. I think that's kind of what's giving them this opportunity. Another thing that I would like to point out, and this speaks to the trades happening on both teams, is so far on every single round, the opening pick has gone to the winning team. So Yeah, I mean, a lot of
Interesting.
the times it's just like this aggression, right? And sorry to cut you off. This aggression starts
That's
right
right.
at the beginning, and then it just trades all the way down to the end.
And I think that's good siege though, is just
Mhm.
being able to win out the trades. All in all, if you think about it, as long as you're working in tandem with the team, you're continuously making sure that once you get the advantage, you're working in unison. And I mean, why would you not argue with that? At the end of the day, if the strategy gets the win, then I mean, it's working. Right now, it is going to be a reattempt here of CCTV. Oh my god, I'm the last map in the EVG and games. And with that being said, both teams have won this, so it's a 50-50 win rate for both sides. And I couldn't actually pick out the winner if I'm being honest.
Yeah, I mean, this is looking. I will say, I believe the rounds that Ariel Arise won have seemed a little bit more decisive. But it also seems like Ariel Arise kind of falls apart at a moment's notice. This aggression has sort of an Achilles heel, and when that Achilles heel happens to get struck by Shift North, it sort of falls apart. And right there, there's the opening pick going in the favor of Zers, the Shift North player. And yeah, right there, there's another one. That's Eddie going down too. Every single time this counter trade tries to come out, and it's not happening. Senpai finding another, and now Ariel Rise is finding themselves in a terrible position with the loss of yet another operator. That's Sovia off the board. Milano is left to try and sneak his way up the red stairs, but his position is known by Maples, who looks like he's going to take the disciplined play and allow him to walk into his own demise. Milano, though, not really watching the vert. He could find himself down to that, but instead, the Wamai is going to be the pressure, not going to finish him off, but a double swing, or rather a counter swing coming out from Senpai is going to finish him off. And thankfully, Omai is going to manage to keep his life. That is actually a flawless round in favor of Shift North.
That is a great round indeed. They shut down every option for Aerial Arise. Any sort of ingression was met with aggression and won out completely. Dining and Kitchen finally is going to be seen as we do see Chef North potentially completing a complete rotation of their sites. But with that being said, it is tertiary, and with tertiary means a slight attacker bias. And I don't think there is a map that doesn't have a tertiary with a slight attacker bias, or attacker bias more inclined rather than the other sites. We do seem to see a lot of vertical pressure, a lot of focus pushed towards that top floor usually, with Ariel Arise and the fact that they have a slightly unique style, you could call it, that might not be the case.
Yeah, I mean, but I do want to point out something really fast. As this is the first time Shift North has taken an advantage versus Aerial Arise.
Yeah.
That's huge for them. And honestly, mentally speaking, they're probably kind of sitting on the edge of their seats. They've sat down, they've started really engaging in flow state. These players seem to be in the zone and able to comprehend what's going on in front of them and react to them very appropriately on a very, very quick time frame. And honestly, I have to commend Shift North for that. Now, Aerial Rise seemed to be there from the beginning, but now not quite. I don't know if maybe they just don't know this map as well as they know Clubhouse. Maybe Villa was their second pick and they were gonna pick Clubhouse themselves, but it seems a little bit more Shift North sided. And even as I say that, there's already a pick for Shift North and Eddie taking a lot of damage. This swing is not going to net much other than a little bit of map control and knowledge of where he is. His pulse is using his scanner, and a trade comes out. TK and Zers, two members of Shift North who have found themselves as at the ends of guns. Now, Tac Verda is going to start cleaning this up along with Milano. This was beautiful. Look at this, just finding their players and making this sort of web play and getting everyone in the positions they needed to be. They were able to start cleaning up Shift North, and while that opening pick did go in their favor, Ariel or Rise were able to position themselves well enough to really catch a lot of the Shift North players off guard ultimately.
Well, we are on a different side, and well, if you recall back to Clubhouse, we did see the defenders win out a 5-1 half. Yes, we did see Ariel Arise get another two on the attack, but I mean, the stronger side, you could argue, is defender just because they won more rounds. I think the thing is, though, or AVG and games. Oh my god, I couldn't get my words out there. And Statue and Trophy are probably some of the most defender-sided sites that we can see. Villa does have that defender bias that we tend to see come out. It's went in even. Now, Yali, the thing is always we don't have the full picture just yet until we get to the end of this half. Could you argue this that you could well you could argue that this last half was an Ariel Arise half just because it's went in even. We do see a 4-2 split here for Ariel Arise. They will win out this map.
Yeah, that is definitely a perfectly possible split, especially because we haven't seen Shift North attack this map yet. I don't know if the aggression will still be there, if the coordination will incline itself in that direction as well. But TK already finding Milano. There you go. There's that aggression getting countered immediately by Shift North, showing why they are here in playoffs. And well, yeah, this could easily go 4-2 to Aerial Rise. I really want to see Shift North win, if only so we can see Skyscraper. I mean, such a fun map. Let's be real.
Who doesn't want to see skyscraper? Let's be honest here. Oh no, Doc is trying to get aggressive here. Ashen, I've not seen Doc in so long. Not want to stay there for too long, just in case. And it seems if they have already overstayed their welcome and will get picked up. That's great play there from the Jackal coming in aid of the Ayana. Just creating that phantom pressure from the window, and the Doc just trying to be a little bit tunnel visioned on that kill. Lady has struck back though, and that's a good pick in itself. There goes Zuz, there goes the Ayana. Two nades, all that repeatable info. That does seem to be a trade though. Senpai taking out Ferta there. There has been a C4 flung up, and it's hitting its mark. We're down to 2v2.
Goodness gracious, this aggression and that C4 have done them very well. But Maple's already here, 1v2. This is tough. He's got a little bit of utility in his pocket that he can take advantage of, but he's got some smokes to try and get his way through, as well as any sort of a coordinated crossfire. He has to isolate these players, and if he doesn't, it is going to be impossible. Well, there is one isolation. Maples puts us down into a 1v1 on the first round of this half, and now CZ, the SMG11 player, has to find this, and a beautiful shot by CZ. It's going to end that round. Ariel Rise barely squeaking by on the first round of their defending half.
You see barely squeaking by, but they did get by nonetheless. Sometimes it doesn't matter what margin you win by. The only margin that matters is that win percentage, and it's going up right now for Ariel Arise 4-3. We move through to Trophy and Statue. They seem to be a lot more clinical than their opponents. I wanted to see how that works out on Trophy.
Yeah, the sort of clinical play is something that kind of lends itself to Trophy. I do believe, statistically speaking, this is actually the tertiary site on this map, but that being said, it's still a map that a lot of teams favor. Now, the more clinical among you will point out that Herta has brought a Frost, and that's not necessarily an operator. I mean, we could talk about Frost all day, but it's not an operator that you see every day. A lot of times, Frost is brought because you're trying to prevent aggression, and I think this is a good opportunity to prevent aggression. Shift North has shown that they're capable of that, as well, she has a shield, she has a shotgun, she's just a useful operator. But if we have a look at the Shift North lineup, that isn't a super aggressive lineup. I mean, there are not going to be any impacts on the side of the board for Ariel Arise to counter this Osa, so he's going to be able to make very small motions, and with Nomad on the board, yeah, there is going to be a very good opportunity here for Shift North to take their time, take the smallest pieces of map control that they have to, and I could really see that paying off if their discipline is effective enough, especially when Ariel Rise is expecting this aggression.
That is a good point indeed, and already we are seeing that
Oh,
aggression in the
there is a
Frost works
Frost mat
out.
already. That is not something that we like to see. I mean, Osa coming up the main stairs and finding herself in a leg trap, and now suddenly we're in a 2v5. Make that a 1v5. Milano gonna finish off another player, and yeah, very unfortunate. TK left in a 1v5. I mean, what's he gonna do here, Cairo?
I've got no clue already. All the Ariel Rise players are running out. They're gonna get that pick. I'm sorry, Yali. I have to apologise there. I muted my Discord because I had a coughing fit and I was cast in there, and you cut over me because it was my fault.
Oh no!
I just had to put that out there. It wasn't a mishap. It was Yali just couldn't hear me because I was too busy coughing. But with that being said, dining and kitchen is going to be the next one here For sites-wise, again, we've already talked about it. You guys already know it's a tertiary site. We expect the attackers to win. There's a bit of vertical presence. The pulse is a big component in this defense. I don't think we got to touch on this last time, just for the sheer information and the fact that the pulse can be pretty much safe for at least the first 20 to 30 seconds of a round, and that gives away the information of where the push is coming from, where the kind of roamers need to rotate to, and to kind of engage, which I think is a big component, and if there is potentially a rush to come through. So we'll need to see how Milano plays this, how the information is utilised by these defenders, and I imagine if it's Arial Arise, they'll be able to utilise it pretty easy.
I think a rush is generally preordained on this site. This is a site, I mean, you put a player in mud, you put a player in pantry, one comes up mud, and you put one in prison, and you put one in, what is that called? That's called pantry, right? You put those players in those or laundry. You put those players in those positions, you collapse, and a lot of defenses tend to fall apart. Sort of depends on this sort of vertical play that you have, but I don't know that Shift North is going to go for that exact style of play. They have brought in Amaru, which generally tends to determine that rush is going to happen, but not sure where exactly, because this is a first floor site. There are not a whole lot of windows that you can jump into, and now there are no windows you can jump into. Attack Eddie going to find the first kill of the round, but there's going to be a trade. Zer's going to find another, and Berta, though, going to bring us back into an advantage for Arial Rice. Wow, this is aggressive. 2 shotguns coming out of laundry. Oh my goodness, we're in a 2v3 in favor of Arial Arise, and both of the Shift North players are on the top floor with Pulse still on the board and a Nitro. Ouch, that is going to be rough to make their way through.
Not only that, though, there is no vertical component here for these attackers. There is a potential mechanical component. Senpai gets that trade there, but not before losing a player on the other side. Milano knows the player's there, comes round with a shotgun and picks up that map point. 6-3. We were talking potentially that maybe Arial Arise are just a defensive team. Villa is actually a defensive biased map, especially in this one. And right now, Yali, we are seeing Arial Arise 3 rounds in a row, and they only need one more to win out this series.
Yeah, this is gorgeous. And this is exactly what I like to see from the meta that we have right now, right? There is a certain amount of flexibilities that the attackers have because generally they decide the pacing of the round, and Arial Arise has taken that right out of their hands. This is clearly Arial Arise's game, this aggression, this unbridled coordination that we have been seeing is really proving to be super effective. And that's exactly what I expect in a meta where flexibility is everything. Being able to place your players exactly where you need them, exactly when you want them to be there. And then on top of that, when Shift North isn't expecting this level of flexibility coming out from Arial Arise at any given point, despite seeing it over and over and over again for the past, doing quick math in my head, 17 rounds. This is just, Arial Arise have been showing an absolute incredible ability to coordinate this aggression and really maintain their flexibility through everything, and it is paying off.
That was some pretty good quick maths, and well, as you said, 17 rounds so far. It's 17 rounds, isn't it? Yeah, it's 17 rounds. And we are on our 18th now, and 18 could be the magic number here for Arial Arise. Seems if we are seeing Shift North take their time moving up here. Don't want to get caught out by any sort of spawn peak, any sort of aggression. Already, Davo has lost some sort of health. I'm not quite sure from where. It might be Ashen from this long angle with a Tachanka turret in their hands. Doesn't seem to be able to pick up anybody just yet. Milano loses a lot of HP. Ashen picks up with that turret, and here we go. It's all going to start raining off here. We're going to get Ferta just prone under this window. Well, they lose out. Doesn't seem to be the case as well. Maplezino has decided to rotate elsewhere. Zuz all on their own. This is so disjointed here.
No, I think this is actually very good. They've chosen to cut off this not because they know there are 4 players of Arial Arise on the master side of the map, but this cutoff isn't going to work. Eddie with a beautiful swing is going to find the red player, and this could be it. 2v5 in favor of Arial Arise, but TK and Maple have a fighting chance in the very least. Their coordination is going to be important, but it's not going to happen. Milano's going to find one, but TK, determined to win this out, is going to find one, finds a second, and is making his way into the site. But what is behind behind him coming up the main stairs is going to be Eddie, as well as a smoke player. CZ goes down to TK. That's a triple kill. This is huge. Tachanka is still on the board, but TK doesn't have the diffuser. He cannot find the pressure, and it's not going to happen. Arial Arise finish this off 18 rounds over the course of 2 maps, and Arial Arise have shown an absolute dominance over Shift North. Beautiful game by both teams.
It really was a beautiful game, but an even more spectacular game from Arial Arise. Absolutely stellar. We said it was 18 rounds all played and only 4 rounds lost by Arial Arise. That is absolute compliments to them and shows how well they played during this series.
Yeah, Arial Arise with that victory will be moving on to the grand finals for your Canadian Contenders League, along with the winner of the next match that we're going to be seeing in, well, not entirely certain how long it will be because that match was so fast. I mean, really beautiful Arial Rise. But in any case, that will be Newt Neuters versus Achieve Esports. That is going to be a huge matchup. And guess what? I'm going to be there with you once more. Fortunately, Cairo will have to leave for that one, but don't go anywhere as we find our break and get these players ready for what's sure to be another fantastic game.